Welcome to the Valley Today, brought to you by the good folks at KAIL TV. We head southwest and visit with Johnny Tachera, third-generation dairyman in Burrel, and now throwing his hat into the ring and running as a conservative for the 16th Congressional District currently held by Jim Costa. Tachera for Congress, up next on the Valley Today. And welcome to the Valley Today. We are in, where are we at?
We're in Burrel.
We're in Burrel, okay.
Out in Fresno County.
We're in God's country.
That's right.
It's nice, it's a little dry, but you know what? I've always liked the country. I come from a farming family myself with Johnny Tachera here, and Johnny is running for the 16th Congressional District. You were out of your mind.
You know what, this is not going to be an easy race.
Yeah.
And you know what, growing up as just a farmer and a dairyman, and family man, got 4 kids, you know, this is not something that you just kind of like, all of a sudden, like you get this epiphany that I got to run for this. You got to really think about it and make sure that you're doing what you want to represent the people and do what's right.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that the fact that you are a dairyman and that you're a farmer, I think that you would be a good representative for this district.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that.
As I'm out walking precincts and talking to people, all they're looking for is somebody to be honest with them, be upfront with them. Hey, we might not always agree on everything.
Sure.
But in the meantime, we want to know that you're not playing sides with us.
Yeah.
Just be honest with us, and we'll get behind you.
Now, what made you decide to do this?
Well, I used to be really heavily involved when I was a younger person in high school in the politics side.
Yeah.
You know, in the party and everything else, and being involved in what the whole process brought to life. But in the meantime, I got really upset with just how dumbed down it got, and how everybody was like, you know, they were playing sides with each other, and I don't want to be a part of this. So then one day my breeder came out and we were talking, and the farm bill came up, and he invited me to go to Washington, D.C. with him, lobby for the farm bill on the dairy title. And that's when my eyes were opened of how disconnected the people in office are.
Yeah.
They do not know what it takes to put food on the table for your family. They don't know what it costs for your electrical bill, or you put gas in your car to get to the job site. They have totally disconnected. It's all about themselves and what you're gonna do for me since I'm in office for you.
Interesting thing that when I was going to Fresno State in the late 70s, I remember having a couple of friends that were going to go into public service. And even when, you know, in their mid-20s, they're saying, I'm just going to go into public service, and that's my whole career. And, you know, it was so foreign to me because these people have, you know, some of these people have never served in the private community. Mm-hmm. So how can they represent us if they don't know what's going on?
Exactly. And you know, you talk to different other representatives like, hey, this is what we're facing in the dairy industry or the farming or specialty crops or whatever it might be, and they're like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and talk to this congressman because I think he might know the issues. Mm-hmm. And we already talked to that person. We already knew he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
He was already one-sided, and he did not want to work with any of us on any of the issues when it came down to water, the dairy industry, or anything. He had his own set agenda of people, lobbyists that were already hounding him on what to do.
Now, were you in on the when Obama came here a week or so ago, and with you know, naturally the conversation was water.
Well, you know what?
I'm sure you weren't invited.
I wasn't invited since I had the R behind my name, and the congressman I'm running against, Costa, was the big person behind getting President Obama down here. So I definitely know, as being his opponent, that I wasn't going to be invited to the dog and pony show that they were putting on out there in the west side.
And it's funny because the conversation turned from water storage to climate change.
Climate change.
And you know, I'm a pretty practical person. I still believe that we need more water storage because when we do have it, we've got to store it.
You're right. And you know what? With Congressman Costa being in office for over 30 years, 32 plus years, and being in office this long, we are not in no better shape on any realm. You know, as far as jobs, as far as water, as far as anything, we are in no better shape except for the other direction.
Well, I have been paying attention to the dairy industry a little, and I know that this has been, I mean, there's a lot of families that third and fourth generation, they're out of business now.
They're out of business.
They're done. And this probably had taken a toll on you and your family and your operation.
It has. You know what, we would have been out of the dairy business a long time ago if we didn't grow all of our own crops.
Yeah.
We're completely self-sustained here. Me and my dad take care of all the baling and all that work when it comes to the hay side of things. We grow all of our own corn silages, all of our wheat silages, and we never really have to buy any kind of commodities.
How many animals you running here?
We're milking about 1,200 right now.
Okay, so what is that? What acreage does that take to support 1,200 animals?
We're milking about 1,400 acres. I mean, we farm about 1,400 acres, and so it takes every bit of that.
That's immense.
It's immense, and what it gets to it is you have to micromanage on top of micromanage. I mean, you're watching what water intake you're putting down on your crops. You're taking tissue samples and water samples of your water. You want to make sure that even whatever fertilizer you might be putting on, you're getting the best benefit out of that. You don't want to waste nothing because you can't nowadays.
Yeah, not only that, but you've got the animal health to deal with too. So
we're the best. Farmer is the best steward of his land.
Yeah, I agree.
And we've conserved.
You're the original conservationist. Nobody's going to destroy their land for the short term because they've got to, they've got to pass it on to their children and their children's children. So it makes no sense.
It's kind of funny that the president would come down.
Not only that, but look at all this oxygen you're respiring. Maybe you can get a tax credit for that or some kind of exemption.
That would be nice. Yes. We do what we can for the environment.
I'm looking at these blackbirds out here, and this is that's something else.
Oh yeah, they'll come in swarms and just swoop up everywhere.
This is great.
So they'll land into the feed bunks and clean out a lot of the grain.
So you're facing the primary in June.
Yes.
And how many other people are on the conservative side are looking to
Looks like there might be 3 more people jumping on board.
Yeah.
But as right now, I'm considered the front runner. I ran against Costa in 2012.
How did that go?
I lost in the primary. I came in 3rd out of 5.
Okay.
And I started very late. And it was just part about getting my feet wet.
Was this your first attempt at any public office?
Yes.
Okay, It was 2012.
2012 was my first attempt. And it really came down to what I was in Jim Costa's office in 2011 in Washington, D.C., and I was talking to him about the Dairy Security Act. It was a part of the dairy title we wanted to put in the Farm Bill, and it was an insurance program for us dairymen. And we were in his office and telling him, hey, this is not going to benefit really the California dairymen. It benefits everybody else in all the other states except for California. Are you not our representative? And he goes, you know what, John? And he leans back in his chair, plops his feet up on his coffee table, goes like this with his hands. He goes, you know what? I had my tail end handed to me in the last election against Andy Vidak, and I don't feel like helping you dairymen because you didn't help me out enough.
Really?
That's when I walked out of his room. I looked at the 2 other dairymen that were with me. I said, you know what? I'm going to prepare myself and run for office against this guy because he's not my representative anymore.
That really was probably the turning point for you.
It was. You
were looking to get a little help, maybe a little relief, and you were going to your representative.
I wanted him to hear my concerns, and we had already been talking to him. I've known Jim since he was in the Assembly. I've supported him before in the past. But when it came down to this, I mean, I started turning tail from Jim back when he's on the water war issues, when he didn't side with the farmers and the water situation we had going on here, and he tried to play games with us.
Yeah.
And that's when I told him, you shot yourself in the foot on this one.
I wonder how many other, dairymen and farmers have been where you were in Jim Costa's office and had the same reaction.
You know what? I know there's some that have some similar stories, but their responses to me, you know what, Johnny, that's kind of like politics is played that way. And I was like, you know what? I don't play politics that way. Yeah. I'm a straightforward kind of guy. I was raised up around old timers that when we farmed and everything, your handshake was your bond.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do no written contract.
Right.
And for the written contract I feel like I have with Jim, being our elected official that we put in office, is that you're there to represent us. You're there to represent the better of everybody. And you know what, in farming and agriculture and the dairy industry, we provide a lot of income into the state of California. We're the driving engine and the force behind the economics here in the California area.
Not as far as the government's concerned.
Yeah. Well, they seem like
they think government jobs are going to fix the whole thing,
They're printing press.
We're going to push more paper.
Their printing press is running full bore, and they think they can just keep on printing it. And the president comes down, and he thinks that what he's going to do to save the valley is he's going to go ahead and give away millions of dollars for conservation on water instead of actually.
When in fact it really boils down to either more water coming from the north or more storage here, or a combination of both.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been pushing, we don't need a high-speed rail set up right now. He says, if anything, we should be building temperance flats or some more water storage.
And there's a rainbow there, because at least some of these judges has looked at this and they said, hey, you know, the funding's not there to push this high-speed railroad forward.
Well, even Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom's come out already,
yeah,
and says that we need to put the high-speed rail on a hold and use that money for other infrastructure on the freeways and that kind of stuff, so we can get people instantly to work.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, Connie Conway has already approached that as well, saying this is what we should do. And he said he's not the only Democrat that feels this way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and you know what, I've talked to Jim, and Jim said this is his pet project, is the high-speed rail. He's been pushing this since he was in Assembly. So if, you know, we had the high-speed rail that he's pushing down our throats, what he hasn't done on water, and then, you know, with Obamacare is another situation that we feel like this is the final nail in his coffin.
Yeah. You know, beyond that, why do we need to travel that quickly from Los Angeles to San Francisco on the surface? I mean, you've got this airline infrastructure that can take you from one or the other in about an hour and a half, so I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It don't look like the price is even that much different. You know, it's actually probably cheaper to fly than it would be to even ride the train.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be something that's completely subsidized. My grandkids are probably still paying for it. And
their grandkids will probably be paying for it
too as well. So this is government at its best, not knowing what to do.
Yeah. Well, it's time to take back control. I don't know if we can. Certainly, I've always believed in getting the people from the private sector to serve 1 or 2 terms, and then boom, you're out. You're back into whatever avocation or job you had before you went in to serve. But certainly, you know, career politicians are they're ruining the deal for everybody, I think.
No, I can see that once you're in office. I mean, being back in Washington, D.C. for several years now, about 3 times a year, lobbying, you can see the disconnect as far as how once you're in their little hub and everything, they want to put you part of the good boys group and everything else, and they want to make sure they control you. But I feel like, I actually think that people are looking, I mean, look at the approval rating of Congress now. It is so low.
Yeah.
I actually believe that the voter is actually looking for somebody that will stand up, do what's right, and be honest with them, and keep them abreast of what's going on in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do.
Well, we're out of time on this segment with Johnny Tachera here. He's running for the 16th Congressional District here in California. Welcome back to the Valley today with Johnny Tachera here. He is running for the 16th Congressional seat, and it's just a 2-year term.
Yes, it is, just 2 years, and so by the time you get yourself in as a freshman, you're just getting your feet wet to learn out exactly how the committees you're going to be on and the relationship that you got to be building there in Washington, D.C.
So has Costa served 30 years in this district?
No, he's got elected in 2004 into the U.S. Congress.
Okay.
But as far as being in the public service, he started 32 years ago in the state assembly, then he was into the state senate, and now in U.S. Congress.
So has he termed out in any of those?
I don't think so. He might, maybe in U.S. in the House.
Because there's term limits
assembly
on certain positions, but I don't think there's term limits on the Senate.
Yeah, because I think he only ran 1 term in the Senate, and then that's when he ran for Congress when the open seat came up.
So if you get elected, what are you going to do?
Well,
what are your main things that you want to hit?
Let's talk about this one issue about reason why Costa is actually still running. Because, you know, Costa, when he found out I was running against him and he knows who I am, he says, Johnny, can we get together and have some coffee? And I was like, all right, Jim. So we get together in downtown Fresno, and I said, Jim, why are you running again? I said, didn't you get kind of kicked out of Kings County, Tulare County, and Kern County? Now you move over to here to run again? He goes, well, Johnny, you know, I need my 5th term.
I thought those were all friendship signs.
No. He goes, well, Johnny, I need my 5th term so I can have full retirement.
Yeah.
So
that's what he's worried about.
That's what he's worried about. So this election cycle, being 2014, since he was elected 2004, would be his 5th term.
Yeah.
So this would be his full. And because word is that if he does win this seat, then he's going to quit midterm and have to do another special election.
Really?
So, and what I employ to farmers and stuff that are still on board with Costa, what are you going to get out of him?
Why are there any farmers on board with this guy?
Well,
because they're really big farms?
This is what I've been told from a lot of the big farmers that are heavily involved in Westlands Water District and other water agencies is, Johnny, we need Jim Costa because of our 2 senators. Because Feinstein and Boxer will not talk to Devin or Valadeo or McCarthy.
Right.
So, but I talked to him, I was like, well, you're still not getting nothing out of having Costa. Those 2 senators still ain't going to do nothing for us. So why are we going to put up with Costa when we have the highest unemployment rate, highest foreclosure rate in Merced, highest poverty rate in downtown Fresno? Mm-hmm. We have no water. The Hispanic people are always talking about having no jobs. I said, we're going to be buying foreign food to put into our grocery stores. I said, when is enough, folks? And that's when, it don't matter what party line you are. That's when they've been hopping on board with me, because the gentleman's record speaks for itself.
Yeah, look at Orange Cove. They're hurting for water now. They're getting water delivery, I think, from the Friant Kern.
Yes.
There's a new deal with them to get water from the Kings River Association. I'm not quite sure how.
Well, that's
it
why,
might be an exchange. I'm not sure.
Well, that's why the senators decided not to use the San Joaquin Water Restoration Act. They closed it down because if they did do that, then there was no water for the other eastern.
Now the Republican, there was a Republican that had a water bill for California here, and then when Obama came, then
it was Congressman Valadao.
Valadao, yeah.
Yeah, he reached out to the other side, said, hey, I've been working hard on this. I've been working both sides of the aisle, and he says, let me come out to this event and let's talk about this. And he wasn't even notified that this event was even coming on. And
well, I don't think any Republicans were invited to it.
No.
You know, it's funny because he comes on Friday. That farm show went from Tuesday to Thursday. That would have been a great venue for him to come to and to talk to some of these guys. Of course, it would have disrupted the flow of traffic, but for the ag show. But certainly, I think that would have been a monumental thing for him to do, is to come to that and talk to these guys, you know?
Well, if I feel like if you're really concerned, it's like a town hall meeting. You know, if your district and the people that you represent are having some issues, actually you go to the people and talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, you don't handpick a certain spot you're going to go to and handpick the people that's going to show up. You handpick the media that's going to show up as well. What does that accomplish?
Right.
Except that you can talk about climate change.
You're stacking the deck.
You're stacking the deck.
You're like a card shark now.
Yeah. You know, you're actually like, okay, these are the questions I want asked, and this is how I'm going to answer. It's all a scripted play for the president and that side of the party. I'm not that kind of guy. I realize that in order to win this, I have to be out everywhere, byways and highways. I got to be talking to decline to state, Democrats, Republicans, those that haven't voted in the last 10 years. To get them involved.
The lines of the 16th Congressional District are parts of Fresno and south. Is it south?
No, it goes actually north.
Oh, it goes
so
north.
What you have is you have the downtown part of Fresno area. It comes down as far as the Easton. Kind of goes over in the Kerman area. Doesn't cover the town of Kerman. Kind of goes around it. And then it heads on up towards the San Joaquin River and the Madera River. And it stays in between the two rivers going through Madera, and then it's all in Merced County.
How far east does it go?
East as far as into Fresno, it comes as far as Shaw. So Ashland into one area, then Shaw to another.
It really is a weird.
Fresno is the worst.
District.
Fresno is the worst part to try to.
You don't live in the district, right?
I don't, and you don't have to live in the district to run for Congress.
Okay, that's
not in the Constitution.
Yeah, not that bothers me. I'm just.
It don't bother me none at all either.
I thought I'd throw that. nor. Hey, now wait a minute. Now you can't be this honest.
Well, why not?
You get into Congress. We're gonna have to get your mind right.
Well, the thing about it is nobody's made it an issue except for maybe some of my opponents.
Yeah.
Because they see what kind of threat I am.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is people are wanting somebody to represent them. I probably spent more time in that district than Costa's ever have. Mm-hmm. And Jim's been trying to proclaim to me that he's going to work harder than me in this district, but it's not going to happen.
So the bulk of your vote's going to come from the Fresno area?
The bulk of the votes are in the downtown Fresno area.
Yeah.
Kind of imagine.
And that's more strong. That's stronger Democrat than it is Republican.
Kind of imagine they just dumped San Francisco on us right there.
Yeah.
And but other than that, you got the conservative side of Madera, Merced. It has a lot of Hispanic and Portuguese, which my wife's Hispanic, I'm Portuguese. And the last go around when I lost against Brian Whelan in 2012, I had a lot of that area, Merced, Chowchilla, Madera, calling me up and saying, you know what, Johnny, since you lost and we want a farmer, says we're going to go ahead and get behind Costa. Mm-hmm. But please run again, because we'll get behind you. So that is what drew me back to this race, because I fell in love with the people, I fell in love with the district, and I was like, you know what, I feel like I can make a change here. I feel like I can bring vitality back to the Republican Party and to the communities, and actually get young people involved again in politics.
We do need new blood in the Republican Party or in the Tea Party. Now, I could go either way with that. Now, are you embraced by the Tea Party, or are you embraced by the Republican Party?
I would say I'm embraced by both parties. I've been attending labor union picnics and attaching the other side, which is odd for a Republican to be. I still got like a sore thumb. But when I come to it and I say, you know what, I'm running for office against a career politician. And they're like, well, who are you running against? I said, he's been in office for 32 years. I don't drop his name yet. And they're like, well, man, 32 years and we have the highest foreclosure and no water, no jobs. And they're just listing this whole laundry list of bad decisions by this congressman. And they finally say, who is it? And I was like, well, it's Jim Costa. And they lean back like, man, is he that bad? I said, well, you just told me what his record was.
Yeah.
And so that's when they're like, man, if he's that bad, he ain't helping us out even as far as the unions.
Now, are the parties in lockstep? Is most of the Democrats in lockstep with each other as far as what's going on in the state, but also on the national stage?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think people are realizing, I've been trying to tell people is, what the best way that if we want to bring back the Republican Party and the conservative values of what Ronald Reagan stood for is we have to work as a whole.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to embrace the motto or the way that football works.
Right.
You know what? We work as a team. It's not just the guy out there hot shotting and everything and being the ball hog, but you really have to work as a team in order for it. I mean, when back in '94, when the Republicans swept a lot of races down here in California, I was involved in that when I was in high school, and I remember the hair on the back of my neck standing up, listening to Mr. Patterson. That's when Nunes was just starting to run too, and we're getting involved and realizing how everybody was so lockstep with each other, and it didn't matter where you were at or what demographics you were at. You all worked together. You just got behind each other and you rallied and you locked arms and you just did it. And I feel like we got to bring that back in order for us to gel and come together and to actually get this going. With the race with Andy Vidak down 19 points. And for him to come, 19 as far as Democrat registration over a Republican, and him coming back when him being outspent and everything else, I think really brought some volumes back here to the Central Valley that we can do this.
Yeah.
When we just won a big race down in San Diego for the mayor's race. And you know what? And from what I heard,
that was a conservative that won that, didn't he?
It was a conservative.
Yeah.
I think if I remember right, somebody told me it was the first time that a Republican mayor.
I tell you what, I was getting a lot of laughs off reading about this Filner guy.
Yeah.
I thought it was hysterical, but I thought it was also sad. By the same token, that here we've got this guy that had so much abuse in office, and yet, he was just so callous about it.
Yeah, no, I really think that this is a time to change the way California is viewed.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of people, and they're like, Johnny, I'm done. I think California is done for. We're just going to live in the state. A lot of people have
been saying that.
And I was like, you know what? Give me one shot.
Yeah.
I want to prove to you guys that we can turn things around. Let one person start that spark, and this thing can spread like wildfire down through the Central Valley.
Man, you got a lot of energy, and we need like I said, we do need young people to serve, in our government, our state, local, and on our federal government.
Yeah, I tell people, you know what? I'm probably not the best speaker. But I'm the kind of guy.
You're doing a pretty good job.
I'm the kind of guy that just gets my hand dirty. I get in there and get the job done.
Sure.
A lot of people that know me, I have my own custom welding fabrication business as well. I started in 2005. And you know what? Everybody's like, Johnny, you're a hands-on kind of guy. He says, you're going to have a tough time in Washington because they like to just make that thing right out as long as they can and collect their paycheck and not get nothing done.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're the kind of guy that your time means money. And you want to make sure that the time you're in office is well spent for your constituents.
So you're not going to take any Kool-Aid and make friends there, I take it?
No. And I think there's actually some people there in Washington, D.C. that are still probably looking for somebody to come and rally the troops back together and, hey, let's get America back on track. Let's get things moving again like it's supposed to be. And that way we can spend time with our families.
Yeah. We only have a few moments left, so the major gauntlets are going to be the primary. Mm-hmm. That's the one. If you don't take that, then...
June 3rd is the primary coming up, and we've been doing a lot of grassroots. The same people that's been working on Andy Vidak's campaign, the Olsen brothers, have been consultants of mine working on the ground game. And because you know what, it's come down to the old school politics. Boots on the ground.
And it's getting people registered to vote also, regardless of who they vote for. We need to get more participation in the voting process, and that's at an all-time low from what I understand.
I just had a community meeting this morning down in the downtown Fresno area, and we're doing block parties and stuff, getting out the votes, getting people registered to vote. And that's what it's about, is that great community involvement.
Right.
Not as far as like, hey, where's the big money donors and all this kind of stuff and work your way that way. It's like, you know what, I feel like I got to work first with the voters and find out what their needs are and what if this is even worth pursuing. Are people ready to get back on board and turn California back?
So does Johnny Tachera have a website?
Yes, it's johnnyforcongress.com.
Yeah.
And you can also like me on Facebook at Johnny Tachera for Congress.
Okay, and also do you have a phone number where people can reach you if they want to
my personal cell phone number is 559-647-3877.
Man, you're brave.
Well, if all
there's only a handful of people watching this, but I'm sure you'll get some phone calls.
If anything else, we could probably forward over to a couple of my secretaries. So.
Sure. Well, that's nice. Well, I wish you all the luck in the world. Johnny Tachera for the 16th Congressional District.
Oh, I appreciate it. No problem.
God love you and good luck.
And God bless America.
Do you have any last thoughts before we close?
Well, you know what? Come out to the polls. Vote for me, Johnny T.
Johnny T. Johnny Tachera here on The Valley Today, and The Valley Today is a public service presentation of this great TV station. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.